Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
You're a pro at running your life, at committing to your workout, at showing up every day. At Bombas, we're pros too. Pros at making socks. Our sport assortment has specialized socks for whatever sport you're committed to. Running, hiking, golf, Pilates, and so much more. Made with sweat-wicking yarns, blister-fighting details, and targeted arch support. Bombas Sport is pro-level socks from the pros of socks. For another pro, you. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com and use code audio.
Hey-o! Welcome to Heed the Call, an NFL podcast. I'm Dan Hanzus. Marc Sessler's here. Conor Orr's back. Gravy on the ones and twos. And joining us, not just for today's preview of Super Bowl 60, but also Sunday's recap, a little doubleheader with Arif Hasan. What's up, Arif?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are all you?
You got like the crowd cheer when Slater did a wrestling move to beat Valley there. That was a big pop for you there, Arif.
It's a raucous crowd.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Well, as well as one can be in Minneapolis in the middle of winter, right? But like, other than that, I'm great, man. How are all you?
I have to ask, Arif, how is very mild-mannered people? I don't want to put all of Minneapolis in a box, and certainly right now Minneapolis is showing that Minneapolis could take out the Fangs and go to battle when necessary as well. So shout out to everyone out there doing the things that they need to do for this country. But in general, the sensibilities as a sports town, how are they handling Sam Darnold on the precipice of Super Bowl 60 and everything that's connected with that, and set against the backdrop of the Kwesi firing, which you wrote about eloquently, and I implore everyone to check that out.
Well, I guess at the list of issues Minneapolis is facing right now, the Sam Darnold Super Bowl appearance has got to be number one.
Been pushed down. It's been pushed down the headline stack. It's like, as I was teeing you up on that, I was like, wait, Minneapolis has a lot going on right now.
Dan glosses over a major national meltdown for the quarterback that played there a year ago.
Yeah, no, you're seeing people in the streets, and it's mostly, as a journalist, I go out and talk to them, and they're like, the Sam Darnold stuff is absurd.
That's why they're all out there.
Yeah, so...
But for those of people that are talking about sports in some capacity, is there some anger left over for that situation, or people, what's done is done?
I think it's more the second than the first, but it's like a mix, right? It's like, because I think a lot of people recognize that they themselves were like, you got to move on, right? Like the meltdown he had in week 18 and then in the playoffs for the Vikings in those subsequent weeks, like, oh my God, the lights got too bright. Like, they kind of, a lot of them were there, and in kind of like a rare, I don't see fans do this a lot where they remember their takes from last year. But it seems as if they're like, well, the Vikings should know better than me, a random fan. And they probably should have held on to this guy, because the whole point is that we trusted the Vikings when it came to figuring out JJ McCarthy, and they were wrong, so that made us wrong. So they should have, but happy for Sam is also a huge kind of element of it. They're like, yeah, there's a lot of people here that are cheering for Darnold to win it, because I don't know, man, what's the league bid about the phrase class act? I guess technically that wouldn't fit Sam Darnold, but it is a good phrase for him, right? He's conducted himself remarkably well. He's been really grateful, and he's been really, excellent about being a really good teammate. And he understood that this was kind of meant to be a one-year rental. He did want to come back to Minnesota if it was possible that he'd retain the starting job without, complication. And so that was the whole thing. But I think many people here are happy for Sam. They're upset with the Vikings, and fairly so, but not so upset that you would typically see in a situation like this, right? Because they knew it was going to be really difficult to retain him.
Yeah, and I think with Darnold, as we start to get into this in this episode, yeah, we'll serve as our preview of this matchup between the Seahawks and Patriots. I think I said it earlier in the week, and I'll mention it again, Conor. It's a relief that of the storylines around this game, one of them is not, is Sam Darnold going to melt down again? And by the way, he can. It could possibly happen on Sunday. Like, he could have a tough day at the office, and they could have something really schemed up well for New England to take down Darnold, and the Seahawks go down. But the way he carried them in the NFC title game, if anything, if we want to kind of get into it, Conor, this way a little bit, just off the top, because the quarterback position is what it is. Coming out of these playoffs, you have this Sam Darnold apex game in the NFC title game. So you're not asking those questions. But then on the flip side, you have the Drake May side of things, where he's coming off a playoff run where he did not shine. And there are a lot of reasons for that, whether it was the defense, weather conditions, however you want to break it down. But it's May that hasn't been a subject of scrutiny in the same way as Darnold might have been if he didn't play at the level he did on Championship Sunday. But they're coming into this game in kind of different places based on the playoff run.
I think, though, the similarity is, and it's kind of a relief to me, and it's something that I'm excited about, is that I don't think that either of these quarterbacks, because of the way their coaches play, feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. And like the example that I always used was like Jared Goff before the Patriots Super Bowl, where he had to be excellent and he was in a horrible position to be excellent against one of the greatest defensive architects in NFL history. Whereas like everything that Josh McDaniels calls is an effort to get Drake May out of 3rd and 5+, right? A lot of things that Seattle does are an effort to just set Sam Darnold up for the 4 or 5 things that he's very comfortable doing. None of these guys have the pressure, or I think the burden yet for May of being the guy that needs to get this done for their team. Both of them are capable of doing it, which is fun, and it would be cool to see. But I think this is more of a head coach game. This is more of a coordinator game. And I like those. I think those are some of the most fun games to watch as a fan.
And the two offensive coaches are the coordinators. They're not the head coaches. So it's not the dynamic of Sean McVay hardwired to Jared Goff staring into 1,000 yards into the distance as the Patriots dissemble them. I mean, I think, Dan, like to your question, though, I almost wonder. I agree that I think Sam Darnold's answered every question up to now, and a lot of the ghosts and all this business have been washed away. But are we almost too far in the other direction where we're just confident that he's going to go out and duplicate the performance he just had? Like Sam Darnold remains one of the bigger wild card aspects of this confrontation.
I feel like he was battle tested in 2 huge spots this season, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs, both with the Rams as the opponent. He was having that tough game in primetime against the Rams, and then led them on the drive at the end of the game, and then the 2-point conversion pass, and it showed a lot of gumption and ability to shake off a very tough start to that game. And then, like we said, the Sunday game. Like, I feel like if I'm a Seahawks fan, I don't go into this game being worried about that. But I also don't worry about May, Arif. Like, I think that May, if he struggles, it won't be because all the breadcrumbs were there in the playoffs, because I think there were too many too many variables during the playoff run to get to this point for him. And I'm very curious how New England and Josh McDaniels, how they're going to scheme up to try to beat this Seahawks defense, because let's give May a little bit of credit too. Facing the Chargers, the Texans, the Broncos on the road, and now getting Seattle, you could argue those are like 4 of the 5 top defenses in the league. So he has yet another big test in front of him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It feels notable that his 2 worst games the entire year were the 2 most recent games. But of course, as you mentioned, like, we got some blizzards to deal with that kind of like strongly impacted things. You had some like receiver drops that were a little unlikely to happen and so on. And so it's a pretty difficult evaluation, but like it is also some of the only evaluation we have of him against strong defenses. And so you're left with a lot of ambiguity about what it's like to go up against a defense that is schemed particularly well. And one of the really cool things about watching the Mike Macdonald defense is that they do essentially, 4 things, right? They do a combination of cover 6 and cover 8, which is essentially, you got half field safety on one side, then you got, safety and a quarterback in deep coverage on the other side. And cover 6 and cover 8, the difference is kind of which sides versus the offense that they take, right? And then they also do cover 2 and they also do cover 3 because everyone in the league does cover 3. And that's, and then they don't like really mix a ton of things up, but it looks like they do because they always seem to have a good read on what the offense thinks that they're about to do. Like the offense thinks they're going to be in cover 6, so they're running their cover 4 beater on one side, and actually, oops, you were wrong. It was the other way around. McDonald has done a really good job of kind of anticipating how that goes. And what's really cool is that they're a pretty low blitz rate team, like 25th in the league, but they're also the most effective blitzing team in the league. When they do blitz, they have like the number 1 EPA in the league on defense, right? And so it's about picking their spots, and they do a really good job all the time of picking their spots, which speaks to Conor's point about this being like a coordinator game, like figuring out what Josh McDaniels is thinking, right? And taking care of that and taking advantage of that. And you would think like, oh, you're a really effective blitzing team against this offensive line that just isn't performing very well. But the other side of that is that Drake May is number 1 in the league against the blitz, right? Like it's such like an interesting kind of matchup, and a lot of that is going to be like what's available to you when they're blitzing, which receivers streaking open. If McDonald can anticipate what that is, that's going to make things really difficult. But McDaniels has done such an outstanding job, right? For all of the stuff we talk about him as a head coach, he is one of the league's gifts as an offensive coordinator. He's done such an outstanding job teaching and training Drake May in terms of like, there was this whole discussion, I don't know how much of it was national, but in Minnesota, pure progression versus full field reads or whatever, right? And a lot of quarterbacks around the league have a set progression. This is your number 1, this is your number 2, this is your number 3. And Drake May has been trained in this system where he has to see the whole field, right? Which nobody can physically do, but you take a look at proxies to figure out what that defense is going to be post snap, and you figure out kind of what side of the field you're reading, and that gives you a shortcut against these short timeline plays where you do have those blitzes, right? And so I'm really excited to kind of see how Josh McDaniels is going to combat Mike McDonald's scheming and anticipation and preparation, and how May is going to absorb all of that going forward. I think that there's a lot of really cool back and forth here with May on offense and trying to figure out a way to get Stephon Diggs on an in-breaking route, or Kayshon Boutte on like a go, versus a defense that just seems to kind of have the answers to the test. I think that, and especially with another week of preparation for both of these teams, it's going to be so cool.
One of the things, my favorite parts about Super Bowl week is that, like, for those of you, for people who don't know, like, you go into like a conference center where you get like the regional insurance people of America conference center, and just all of the Seahawks coaches are just sitting at tables, and there's like no one there talking to them, and they're just bored and they're waiting for someone to ask them questions. And that was my goal yesterday, was to be like, explain this to me like I'm a complete and total dumbass, right? And try to hammer this home. And I was talking to their outside linebackers coach for a little while, Chris Partridge. He's like, think about it this way. The Seahawks, the magic behind it is that we rush 4 guys and you have no idea where they're coming and how they're coming. And there's a science behind it, right? And what you do as an offensive line is you go, oh shit. So you tighten up how close you are to one another, called your splits, right? And when you tighten up your splits, what else do you have to do? You're narrowing the protective area in front of the quarterback, so you have to bring in tight ends. You have to bring in running backs to fill that area. And he's like, so all we're doing is taking out the number of receivers that you're allowed to send out into the secondary. So by the time you're done worrying about our shit, you only have 2 guys that are out there catching the ball, and we can cover them with 7 guys, 6 guys. And so we like our odds. And I was like, wow. Like, you come out of there like, holy shit, that's what's happening here. I'm an idiot. That's
and
great.
Doesn't it feel like a game where like you're going to have to see the Patriots put an extra tackle up there? Use extra blockers, because I mean, we all know Will Campbell struggled to some degree, Jared Wilson to some degree, and their biggest weapon in some of these weird games and these weird quarters have been May on the ground. And it's like Seattle plays like a ton of nickel and dime. They are using guys that can play safety. Even Warrior can play safety, he can play linebacker. No matter what you present, they can present against you. And I kind of just wish if I could be a fly on the wall, I could see what Josh McDaniels cooking up, because I think this is the kind of game where They're going to take the run away. They're Seattle's number one against the run in EPA. And Josh McDaniel, I think, is going to cook up an early kind of trick play that sets the tone, tries to put Seattle on ice, and kind of changes the way this thing could go, because it feels like it's going to be a low scoring game out of the gate, with both teams trying to establish the run against two very good run defenses.
Yeah, Campbell, first round pick, had I believe it was a knee injury. He's come back. He's been a liability at left tackle for them. And he also, like Drake May, has gone against a murderer's row of pass rushers. And while the Seahawks don't have, the superstar names necessarily in their front four, yeah, they win all the time. Up front, that's going to be another challenge. The other thing I'm curious about, how New England, like their offense functioned at its highest level. They created explosive plays right near the top of the league, 13.6% of their offensive snaps during the regular season. Even in the playoffs, which obviously they haven't been in shootouts, they did pretty well against the Chargers and then quiet the next 2 weeks offensively. They still, if you take out the fourth quarter in the blizzard in Denver, it was over 12% of their offensive snaps resulted in big plays. So that's a big part of their offense. And so they're going to take chances. They're going to try to work the ball downfield. Are they able to do it against this defense? You mentioned Eamon, who's a huge part of what they do in Seattle. He injured his ankle in practice this week. There was a shot of him limping to the hotel. There is a report today that there's no way he's going to miss the game, but you do wonder if he's going to be himself in this game and what he does. I read the annual Bill Barnwell piece where he broke everything down as he does so well, and he called Eamon the skeleton key for their entire defense. And if he is not himself, that's a huge advantage to the Patriots and what they hope to achieve.
And he's played 6 different positions on defense as a rookie. They use him all over the place. It's kind of the most modern day type of defender. And Mike McDonald and John Schneider keep finding these guys, but he's totally critical. I would imagine that you just shoot up that ankle with whatever substances you need to shoot it up with to make sure he's okay.
Mark, these are human beings. Connor,
not on Sunday.
I have to ask you, Connor, and this is why SI is very wise to make sure they get Conor to all these events, because you need people that think outside the box. Who do I want to go talk to? What type of figures will give me a unique viewpoint on a game where the entire media world is just talking about two teams? That's Conor. He's lightning in a bottle, baby. Now, I want to get your thoughts, Conor, on as we end another Super Bowl week. You've been there since Sunday now. There are certain signs to you that it might be time to come home soon as well. You were telling us in text.
So I want to paint the picture. So I'm very grateful for this. I love this. I'm so happy here, and I want to just reiterate that. But the Patriots, you have to leave at 5:00 in the morning to get there, right? It's a 5:00 in the morning shuttle, and a lot of things that happen in the morning for me, need to take place before that, and it's just a very difficult morning, and then you delay coffee and you're just trying to figure out, life and you're trying to put everything together. And so I had this story that I'm very excited about that's coming out Friday on Mike Vrabel, and I was like, I just need to ask 3 people this question. You're just kind of hanging by a thread, and you're away from home for very long, and your wife is like, you forgot to do all this stuff about insurance. Do we have insurance? I don't know if we have insurance.
Classic insurance.
Yeah,
normal.
No idea if I signed up for insurance. And so you're sitting at this table, and all of a sudden, and I think we've gotten into this a little bit, the Matt Collins foot thing is just tough for me generally.
Clarify for those that aren't aware of what that means.
He doesn't wear shoes, and I get it, grounding and microbiomes and whatever else the health and wellness people say. I understand that that's very helpful for him, but the focus on other people's feet is just a tough thing.
It's not for you.
And so all of a sudden I'm like, I need a couple guys to just address this thing, and I want to have an interesting conversation. So I'm sitting at one of the tables, and in comes Matt Collins, no shoes on.
Of course.
He has a sweatshirt on with a Mac Hollins foot logo on it. So it's like Mac Hollins between feet or something like.
Is it an important question? Is it a drawn foot, or is it a picture
That's a great
of
question.
A foot.
It is a drawn. It's like the outline of a foot.
Okay.
And then,
So that's a lot less distressing, is what I'm getting
it's
at.
a little less distressing. And then to his credit, like other people enjoyed this, but like you're a heart. Like I'm kind of like this is my 11th Super Bowl. I'm kind of like this is punch the ticket time before we go home, and I'm sitting there at the table, and I was like, hey, I got a question for you, and then he throws down a chessboard, and he goes.
No.
That's fine, but if it's not about football, I'm not answering it, and you have to play chess for every question. And then, like in the back of my mind, it's like when your toddler just takes it one step too far, and I'm just like, all right, I'm good. This is
That's it.
like this is
exhausting.
I don't know why this makes me think of this, Conor, but I remember way back in high school, we were doing our senior show. I don't know if you guys had that, but it was like the seniors would do a musical.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this one kid that he wanted it so bad. He wanted the attention so bad. And people didn't dislike him or anything.
He's on the fringe.
He wasn't a bad guy, but it was a little bit of a try-hard kid. And I'll always remember, like,
No one hated him, but he was obnoxious. Got it.
A little bit, yeah. We would always clock, like, at the beginning before everybody settled in for the, practice or whatever you call it. He would saddle up to the piano, and you could see him like looking around to see if anybody noticed, and then he'd just start playing "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey, and he'd kind of like, how I remember it now is him kind of biting his lower lip a little bit with his eyes darting around, like waiting for some people to like gather around him to like belt some Steve
I've never
Perry.
seen an F-boy piano player before. This is outstanding.
So like that to me, for that, I don't want to say his name, but that high school
Justin Graber.
student reminds me at this point of the Matt Collins charade.
To be clear, this wasn't you.
No, I mean, if I could play piano, I might have.
It would have been you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. It's almost time to come home, and I'm sure your wife wants you home too. And have you clarified with your wife that we have nothing to do with this? This is all Sports
Right, we're
Illustrated.
detached. In fact, we root for you to go home.
I would venture to say that. There you go. I would
photo.
venture outside, like right there, like you off to the left. Or off to the right. I'm just there stewing. Like I'm just stewing. But yeah, I would venture to say that everybody in this Zoom window right now is immensely more popular than I am at home. So.
It does feel like domestic issues bubble up when you're gone for a week, like things that might just calmly be handled
calling
in a
about
different...
the insurance, that's tough. Arif, let's reset here.
Sure.
What's something that, as you like kind of examine this game, that you've kind of laser locked in on, and something that's going to be very important in terms of the outcome?
Yeah, I do want to bring up this chess thing just a little bit,
Sure, go
because
ahead.
it does bother me. You're not asking
you.
more than like 4 or 5 questions, right? You can't play unless you're the worst at chess. You can't play like 5 or 6. Like I don't know how that works. You just do like a standard Roy Lopez opening or whatever, right? You do a Rades opening, it'll take forever. It doesn't matter. Why? This is just fake intellectualism. Anyway. So, the game.
I mean,
Well, I
it's
was gonna
branding.
say-
It's branding.
Arif, I was going to say, like, what did you say that piano player was an F-boy or a wannabe? Yeah, like, are we even sure he can play chess? Is he just hoping that no one's calling his bluff on it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know there was like a Twitch chess tournament among NFL players recently. I don't recall seeing him in that tournament, so who's to say? But
That alone confirms it.
Case closed. Gotcha, Hollins.
but the thing that
Put your
excites
shoes
me,
on.
put your shoes. You got to put your shoes on. Now we got you. The thing that excites me most are the explosives. Like you mentioned, explosives being kind of like a big part, but like both teams are very good at, deep ball passing. It has been kind of, I'm not going to say the bread and butter of the Seahawks offense, but it has been the characteristic of both offenses, right? And so in the rate of passes that anyone throws deep balls, the Patriots are third, and in EPA per play on those 20-plus yard passes, the Patriots are first. The Seahawks are very good at defending deep passes. I mean, look at Devin Witherspoon, he's outstanding. Look at the days that Reek Willett is good. He's very good. The Seahawks, because of what they do tend to see a decent rate of deep balls. They're 10th in the league in seeing deep balls on defense, and 7th in defending them. They're very good at defending them. So I'm kind of excited to see how that all plays out. But on the other side of the ball, the Patriots are awful at it They're very bad at defending the deep ball. They're 32nd in the league on 20-plus yard plays in EPA per play. This is a very good Patriots defense, and the way that they get around this problem is by forcing teams not to throw the deep ball that much and being extremely good on these shorter passes, and so they kind of make up the margins elsewhere. But for a team that is second in the league, so the Patriots are first, the Seahawks are second in the league on EPA on these 20-plus yard throws. You need to be a little bit better. You need to accelerate the clock. And the thing that we've seen from the Patriots from week 13 on. So Zach Kerr, which is an outstanding story, him being the defensive play caller for the Patriots, he has increased the Patriots' blitz rate and has accelerated the clock for opposing quarterbacks from week 13 on. So they were like 22%. They were below average in blitz rate from like week 1 to week 12. And then suddenly, I think this is around the bye, the switch flips, right? And they decide they're going to blitz at like Brian Flores levels. They're going to blitz at 40, 50, and I think in the Broncos or the Texans game, one of the two, they were blitzing at a 58, 60% rate. They're blitzing a ton. They're blitzing at a 40+% rate. It would be kind of, since week 14, would be number 1 or 2 in the league over the course of a whole season. And so they're trying to accelerate these clocks. And I think that's part of they understand that if the Patriots defense is going to be beat, it's going to be the deep ball. And again, some of this is occurring with, like, I think it was Milton Williams of the two defensive tackles was injured for a little bit. Now they're both back and they're the best defensive tackle duo in the league. So that'll help accelerate the clock too. But it's just like these explosives are going to, I think, help define the game. And of course, the Seahawks have a higher turnover rate than the Patriots do, but also defensively, they have a higher takeaway rate. And so, deep balls tend to have higher turnover and takeaway rates. And so we might see that come into play too. But I just think these like big, like the play action, look back, you got two receivers, one of them is streaking downfield. And it's like Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Christian Gonzalez, who does move around the field. He's not a single side cornerback. That's going to be so cool. And I just love these kind of big explosive games, which is not how we're used to seeing a Patriots Super Bowl offense necessarily operate. And when they have operated that way, it actually hasn't worked out, right? They lost to the Giants. And
Darnold has been superb as a play action quarterback in this offense. Like he's been great. And it feels like that's the meal ticket because like with Milton Williams and this Patriots defense, their 5 best games have been their last 5 games. Like they're coming on at the right time. And the splits with Milton Williams when you try to run against the Patriots, when he's on the field or not, are literally one of the more insane concepts out there right now. They have with him on the field allowed 1 run over 12 yards all season. So if you can find a way to take Kenneth Walker out of the game to some degree, because I think he's a huge X factor in this. And if you can blitz, you're right. They've added like 35-40% to their blitz rate, and Darnold has struggled against the blitz. And if you have to force him into a quick passing game, that's not been where he's been at his best. So that's how you maybe frazzle a team that wants to come out and settle down and run the ball out of the gate and put Darnold in the spotlight right away.
All right. We are off to a flying start here. The Super Bowl 60 preview. Stay right there. When we get back, we dig deeper into the big game. Stay right there. Whenever I'm traveling with other people, I almost always book a stay on Airbnb because it just makes the whole trip better. Recently, we took a trip with the family, and instead of squeezing into a hotel, we stayed in a home on Airbnb, right in a local neighborhood. We had actual space, multiple bedrooms, a living room to hang out in, and a full kitchen where we made breakfast together before heading out for the day.
Yep, that's the big difference for me. When you book with Airbnb, you're not just sleeping somewhere, you're staying somewhere. You got more privacy, more room, and a place that feels lived in. Plus, being in a neighborhood instead of a tourist zone made the trip feel more authentic, like we were getting a real sense for the city, Dan.
That's right, Mark. On my trip, we even booked a guest favorite, the most loved homes on Airbnb. That's how I roll, and marked with a badge for their top ratings. And that experience completely lived up to the expectations. Everyone could relax, spread out, and actually enjoy the trip. And I have to say, when you have the kids with you, as I do, Airbnb is a must over a hotel because in an Airbnb, the kids' bedtime doesn't have to be your bedtime.
Yeah, whether it's friends, family, or a group getaway, having a home-like place just makes everything easier and a lot more memorable. Book your next stay with Airbnb.
When we started this podcast, it felt like we had to figure out everything out on our own. Scripts, setup, logo, scheduling, and a million other little decisions that kept piling up every day. It was a little bit overwhelming, and honestly, it felt a bit lonely wearing all these hats at once. That's why having Shopify as a business partner makes such a difference.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. From household names to brands just getting off the ground, you can get started with your own design studio, choosing from hundreds of ready-to-use templates to build a beautiful online store that matches your brand perfectly.
That's right, Mark. And when it comes to efficiency, Shopify has helpful AI tools that can write product descriptions, create page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Need to get the word out? Shopify makes it easy to launch email and social media campaigns like you have a full marketing team behind you. And if you ever get stuck, their award-winning 24/7 support is always there to help.
Yeah, with everything from inventory to payments to analytics, all in one place, running your business has never been smoother.
So start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/HTC. Go to shopify.com/HTC. That's shopify.com/HTC.
Super Bowl 60. Will be the stuff of legend.
Holy shit. We are just 3 days away. Arif, I don't know how plugged you are on this, but Justin, who grew up in the leafy suburbs of North Dallas, is also a rapper. He goes by Legend, and he will be. What was that, Mark? You said, well? Was that doubt? Were you casting doubt on him?
No, I am excited to
No, I think it's fair
that.
if you want to throw a little doubt.
I don't know if I would. I
Yeah.
don't think if I were to introduce Justin to like friends and family that I would say, well, what does Justin do? He's a rapper. Like I don't
He's a
think
North
that's really
Dallas
right.
rapper named Legend, and he will be doing a 2000. It gets stupider, the idea, every time I repeat it. Arif, at the end of our Super Bowl Sunday episode, Legend will do a live rap with the narrative being the 2025-26 NFL season.
Okay,
Live.
I love that. I am excited to see kind of how that plays out, and I have all the confidence in the world in Justin, except for one thing. Why Legend and not something like Gravedigger or like Gravestone? I just feel like
Gravestone.
it's right there for you, man.
It was sitting right there. Yeah,
Not
you have
too
one
late
of
to
those
alter
names.
the name.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very fair
White gravy.
question. White
Yeah.
gravy. I mean,
White gravy. That's perfect. Look at that.
that's pretty good. I can't lie. That's pretty good. I
And-
will
and
say,
your deal is wordplay, right? Like that's the.
yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean,
Arif, I think you're quietly sowing seeds of doubt into my rapper here. So let's try to spin this.
I have all the confidence in the world in him. I just had a couple of questions. That's all.
no, that's fair. Yeah, I named myself this 15 years ago, long before I was working with the boys, and Gravedigger emerged as an awesome nickname thanks to Dan. So it was I never really even thought of anything else. I actually used it because I had come up with some lyrics like introducing myself. I am Legend, like the Fresh Prince, like a little Will Smith pun in there.
How about this also? Okay, that's good. Also, you have the very best of the rappers have multiple monikers.
This is true.
So you can White Gravy could be like your Hova or whatever. Like you could have like different like layers to
You
it.
could have
know what I mean?
AKAs and FKAs and yeah, for sure.
What a license to be creative. I mean, we are a show flooded with people anointing themselves with nicknames. That is confirmed. So,
What do you say? Mark, I could tell Sessler is the one that has the most doubt about your abilities, but you have Super Bowl Sunday night to prove it, Justin.
I don't have doubt. It's probably I'm working through some apathy towards belief.
Okay, sure.
Like show it to me. Because there's been a lot of promises. Like I know the words to 1,000 songs. I can flat out dunk in a public gym. Like no to both. And this is the third boast,
So
and so I want to see how this unfurls.
Are these promises Justin has made and then couldn't follow? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
let's be clear. We never settled the 1,000 lyrics thing because
we
picked-
settled it.
No.
Justin.
We settled that
Justin,
you couldn't
it
dunk,
was
though.
like-
No,
that
well,
was definitely settled.
No, I mean, I couldn't do it during the draft live stream, but I did do it a couple weeks later. Of course, not
With
on
no one
camera.
watching, or
exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
My
don't
fiance
even, it's not a good look.
witnessed and confirmed.
White gravy. I do believe in you.
Thank you. I am having trouble mustering up the belief in myself at the moment because when I did it on the Patreon draft show, like that was, and we had been talking about you, Dan and Mark, you've been doing the lyrics to the little intro jingle thing for a long time, the hook of the song, right? And we'd been getting a ton of comments over a year's worth of comments, like you guys need to make this a real song. And so I felt the inspiration there. I had like lyrics just coming into my head. I didn't have to try super hard. This one, it's like when an artist creates something for themselves and then they get commissioned to create
Talking
artwork.
like Bob Dylan
Let's
after
land this
Blood on
plane.
the Tracks here. Like,
All I'm saying is-
like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
I have like 72 hours to write this song and I have about like 30% of it written. So we'll see how it goes.
What could possibly go wrong? And need I remind you, it will be in a live setting with potentially thousands watching in real time, and then on replays, tens of thousands more.
Right.
Right.
So let
It's your
that
whole
serve as
legacy on the line.
inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I'm confident.
All right. Well, here we go. By the way, before we get back to the game, I got a special guest here. It is the Super Bowl 60 preview. Is our guest ready, Justin? Okay.
Let's bring him on.
All right. It's an HTC exclusive, in fact. Ladies and gentlemen, on the line right now, from what I presume is the league home office, though perhaps I shouldn't assume anything here, it is the man who quietly decides all. Hello, man. Is there a proper way to address you?
Man will be fine. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay. Well, man, it was recently brought to my attention that you were responsible, a little scoopage here by HTC, for last summer's NFL artwork that depicted Sam Darnold and Drake May at the front of the race to the Super Bowl trophy. Was that at your direction?
Yes, of course. I am the decider. I commissioned that piece with very specific instructions to the artist.
I see. We were talking about how Conor Orr has all these great little ways of finding stories Super Bowl week. I'm a little surprised that no one was able to, grab that artist and get his thoughts and how that all came together. Would have been a fun little color piece.
Ah, well, yes, you could say that artist is no longer available for comment.
Okay. What about those who said Darnold and May were not closest to the trophy in that artwork? Did that frustrate you at all to hear that discourse?
No, not at all. In fact, I often employ misdirection to confuse and disorient the public. Typically for my own fancy. In those cases, I tend to use the feeble-minded, recreational drug users, gambling addicts, Titans fans, miscreants.
Sounds like somebody we know. But I have to ask, as the man who quietly decides all, do you have your fingerprints on more than just promotional aspects of the league's agenda?
Well, you're asking the wrong question, Dan. You're asking if I influence the league. There is no if. The games are not contests. They are expressions of my will. I decide which cities feel hope. I decide how long they are allowed to keep it. I decide when a fan base becomes insufferable enough to be punished. I decide the outcome of games, yes, but more importantly, I decide the arguments afterward, the debates, the podcasts, the calls to sports radio that begin with, "I've been watching this game for 40 years. So when you ask whether my fingerprints are on the league's agenda, what you're really asking is whether the sun has an opinion about the crops it grows. It does, Daniel. And it is only happy when those crops are watered with the tears of heartbroken fans.
But why the Patriots? What possible benefit could there be to dragging that team back to the center of the football universe after 20 years of dominance?
Because people need to understand something very clearly. Light is temporary. Parody is a lie we tell children. And darkness, when managed properly, always comes back wearing a familiar color. A red tie, a shock of blonde hair, or in this case, a red, white, and blue Patriots helmet.
I have to ask, are you the devil?
Oh, what a quaint, naive question, Daniel. Goodbye.
Ew.
Be careful of the scoop that you get. A warning to Jay Glazer and everyone else. Stay right there. When we come back, we dig deeper into Super Bowl 60.
Finding a doctor you actually like feels like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone in-network, nearby, and with open appointments, but that's just the baseline. You also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, calms your nerves, tells you it's going to be okay, maybe even still gives you a lollipop, even though you're a full-grown adult, Dan.
Oh, yeah, Mark. And guess what? The dream doctor does exist, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you need primary care, dental, dermatology, eye care, or one of 200-plus specialties, you can search by specialty or symptom and build the care team that's right for you.
Absolutely, Dan. You can book in-person visits or video visits, read thousands of verified patient reviews, see real-time availability, and book instantly. No phone tag. Appointments typically happen within 24 to 72 hours, and sometimes even the same day. Dan and I use ZocDoc, and you should too.
Absolutely. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/heed to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/heed. ZocDoc.com/heed. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message.
Hi, this is Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst, certified financial planner, and the host of the Jill on Money podcast. With the new year upon us, there's no better time to take control of your financial life. And the Jill on Money podcast is here to help. It's your questions that make it possible for me to provide unconventional and, I hope, entertaining insights on your money and, more importantly, on your life. Follow and listen to Jill on Money wherever you get your podcasts.
With the big game coming up, I've been spending a little time checking out Webull, which you might know as an investment app. Webull is an investment app I've used for years, and they've recently rolled out sports event contracts, which are part of their prediction markets just in time for the big game.
Yeah, if event contracts are new to you, the easiest way to think about them is trading on clearly defined outcomes rather than traditional betting. There are no fixed odds. Instead, the price reflects how likely the market believes that outcome is at any given moment. Each contract settles at $1 if the outcome happens, or $0 if it doesn't. And those prices can change in real time as new information comes in. Injuries, in-game momentum, coaching decisions, all the same stuff we're already talking about every week on this show. So if you're someone who's constantly thinking about game flow, matchups, and probabilities, it's interesting to see how a market reacts to that same football information in real time, Dan.
That's right, Mark. All of this happens on Webull's platform, which operates as a registered futures commission merchant, meaning these contracts trade in a regulated environment. If you're curious to explore it, you could download the Webull app by heading to webull.com/K/heedthecallpod. That link is also in the pod description and gets you a $5 voucher. Once you're in the app, just go to predictions, tap sports, pick the league you're interested in, and you could view the available event contracts there. And around the big game, Webull is offering $0 in commission on all trades for big game related event contracts. That means no commission on the executed trade, though exchange fees still apply. So claim your $5 voucher and step into the big game with Webull by heading to Webull.com/K/heedthecallpod.
That's Webull.com/K/heedthecallpod. As always, this is speculative and not for everyone, but if you already follow the NFL closely and like to think in probabilities, it's another way to observe how markets process the game in real time.
All right, we are back. Welcome. I mean, we're a little shaken up after maybe getting a little too close to the source of a lot of the NFL's decision-making, Mark. That might be a topic for the next Rolling Thunder with Jason Zumwalt.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to go back to discussing the game, but I'm left shaken by our careers, what we cover, the content we discuss 40 to 50 hours a week. It all feels different now. Something's been disclosed that is disturbing.
Arif put a bow on that.
I mean, in some sense, it's affirming, right? Because it's validating what we've all kind of secretly suspected. But I think, ultimately understanding that the framework, the basis by which we do our work is built on a series of increasingly elaborate lies. It does shake the core a little bit, I'll be honest.
Right. Why are we even finishing this fucking show is another follow-up question I have. But and yet we will. And Mark, I'll turn it over to you to try to get us back on track in this predetermined contest. What's another aspect of Super Bowl 60 that jumps out to you as something we have to talk about?
I want to see the usage for New England's backfield. Stevenson just dominated touches in that Denver game. And I think that you could look at that in a couple different ways. Travion Henderson was one of the more explosive players that they had this season in certain moments. Now, overall, he wasn't, but he'd go and take it to the house, and he's such a difference maker. I just feel like New England needs a couple of those moments in this game. And so are they going to give Henderson more of a chance than they have? He's struggled as a pass protector. They're struggling as a pass protecting unit in general. I think that's got something to do with it. I think they just trust Stevenson more right now to basically carry the load. I think he had like 22 touches last game. I could see that all happening again, but do you find a way, if you're Josh McDaniel, to use Henderson in a way that creates one or two big plays that separates? Because I think this is going to be a slog for their offense.
I think that's one way they could potentially put Seattle on skates. And remember, as good as the Seahawks defense is, they're getting cooked up pretty good by the Rams in that game, their last game they played. They can be beaten. It's not impossible. Yes, I think the Will Campbell side of all, the offensive line that's had a lot of trouble protecting May in the playoffs, May's fumbles, which have put them in peril, and if not for some truly wretched quarterback play on the other side of the field, maybe New England's not here. So they've stayed with Stevenson. They've stayed away from Henderson. Henderson played 4 snaps in the AFC Championship game, and those of us who followed the rookie, especially those of us that were faithful and kept him on the fantasy roster, and then he had that big second half of the regular season. You saw what he can do as explosive plays. We also talked about it, Conor, with Chad Graff on the midweek show, that the other thing, it's not just pass pro that he's struggling with at this point in his career. He also doesn't always make decisive moves and hit holes the way the Patriots like. So he's an imperfect player, but to Mark's point, which I think is a good one, and I've been thinking about the same thing this week, I think for the Patriots to win this game, they need to kind of steal a couple of these big plays, and I don't think they have a better player on their roster to give them one.
Right. It's like, where do you find the balance between, especially if you're Mike Vrabel, understanding that he might trip, that he might fumble, and probably that there's a higher percentage chance that he does that than someone else, even though Stevenson's had fumbling issues in the NFL. I think Vrabel, there's just a little bit more baked in trust there. But I do think inherently, if we can envision all the different ways that each of these teams can win a game, I think that New England's best chances is something similar to what they had to do in a bomb cyclone against Denver, which is just keep it close. Like, it's just keep it close and hope that other teams make mistakes. And I get it. I mean, I think that I was texting you guys this during the game. Like, why wouldn't they just throw him a toss? Why wouldn't they just give him a chance to end the game right now and to put their foot on Denver's neck? But at the same time, Vrabel is like not to tie it all back to Matt Collins, but this is like a chess game a little bit. And he knows that he can't beat himself. Like, they can't afford to do any turnovers. And so I think that that's a big part of it.
I'd throw a quick question out to you guys. Like, do you think that if you're the Patriots, you're Josh McDaniels, like in your bunker 2 weeks here, 2 weeks to prepare, he's in this 10th Super Bowl, this guy's got more experience than anyone. Can you look at those two Rams performances on offense, well, the second one especially, and what Baker Mayfield did to the Seahawks defense? I think he threw for like 379. Does it translate? Can you learn from that? Or you just kind of are who you are at this point?
So it's I was talking to, this is my favorite question to ask coaches every year at the Super Bowl, but this year Patriots coaches are actually answering questions, and it is
weird,
fucking mind blowing. Like,
oh my god,
I'll give a pop. So my buddy Tyler Dunn, who writes the Go Long NFL site, he's staying with me this week, and we were walking back from Patriots interviews, and he said, so read him tomorrow, because I don't want to spoil the scoop, but he's like, I just asked them how they were going to cover Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they told me. Like, we know how they're going to cover them in the Super Bowl. And he's like, I'm just going to write it now. I'm sitting over here at the media center, and I'm going to bang it out. And so in learning about that, Mark, to your point, the Patriots have obsessively gone back over everything. And it's not just the Rams games. It's not just this season. One of their coaches said, I went back to the last time that we played the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, and I measured the crowd noise from a television tape to estimate how well their fans travel and about how loud they're going to be in this game. So when you think about, and every year the answer is different, but I think with this Patriots team, some of these assistants are young, they're crazy, they're grinders, they'll do whatever it takes. And so when the question is, are they thinking about this going into the game? The answer is yes, and to an insane level that you can't even possibly imagine.
I have some thoughts.
I keep going. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, just like that specific, like, obviously it speaks to the level of dedication that they have to trying to figure out every angle they could possibly figure out. But I just please talk to like one audio engineer before you decide to invest that time, because that feels like a terrible use of your time, right? Like,
it's fair. That's fair.
like if the parabolic mics are pointed slightly differently, the perceived sound coming in through the production truck is going to be significantly different. And then, however, the production truck wants to tune up or down the crowd noise based off of the mics that they have for that.
This is why I love Arif.
Like, you can't do that. Like, that's just not. So I appreciate that level of dedication. Hey, it's 2 weeks of preparation for a game. You got to fill that time somehow. But honestly, I think that they're going to get more out of that than they're not, right? Like, I think that they're going to get kind of a lot out of that. I just find that like really interesting. I did want to go back to kind of this run game stuff with Stevenson and Henderson and talk just a little bit about that, because I think one thing we got to keep in mind, like, yeah, we saw some teams run effectively against Seattle, but in the regular season, they were number one in the league in yards per carry allowed. They were in defensive yards per carry allowed at 3.74. They were number one in the league in expected plus minus. So you know how like the next gen stats, figures out like what is your expected yardage based off of like the defender leverage and, the blocking angles and all of that. Well, Seattle, you figure out what that is. Seattle created a negative expected yardage for all these running backs at a higher rate than anyone else in the league. They're number one in the league in run DVOA. They're number one in the league in EPA per carry against the run. And notably, we talked about like how they got to get some breakaway runs, and Henderson is obviously much better kind of enabled to do that than Stevenson. Well, the Seahawks are number one in the league in percentage of runs that are below 15 yards. They're the number one defense in all of these categories over the course of the regular season. And, a lot of that has to do with how outstanding that defensive line is and what Boy Moffett has been able to do and Leonard Williams has been able to do, and Byron Murphy II has been able to do. Just really outstanding stuff. But then also, on top of that, Devin Witherspoon is a tank. Nick Manwari is outstanding. Like, they're doing all kinds of stuff at all different levels. Ernest Jones is playing out of his mind. All kinds of stuff at all different levels to stop the run. So actually, despite kind of like what I'm going to go a different tack, Vrabes might be the kind of guy that wants to run the ball and establish the run and kind of just stick it to you. And I would get that. But the Patriots are the number one team at throwing screens. They're the number one team at throwing 0 to 9 yards. They're the number two team at throwing 10 to 19 yards. Hey, man, I actually think despite what Drake May has been doing, and despite the fact that the Seahawks have an outstanding secondary, you're hustling backwards if you're running the ball too often against this team. You got to be throwing these 10 to 19 yard routes and seeing what's opening up for you and just nailing them, because you've got a quarterback that is not going to be as easily fooled, despite the fact that it's his second year, not going to be as easily fooled by a lot of these coverage disguises, because he has been taught differently than a lot of other quarterbacks his age around the league about how to read coverages. And so he's going to be able to get to that, that crossing route that's going underneath, the post route, right? Like, he's going to get to that a little bit faster than a lot of other quarterbacks do. And that's why they're number 1 or 2 in throws of 10 to 19 yards. So I actually think, like, obviously you got to run the ball, right? But I don't think that that's the solution to their problems. I think they got to use the run to set up the pass and see if they can kind of continue. Like, if it's going to be one of Reek Willens' bad days, like, take advantage of that, because he has those. So that
sounds like a Stephon Diggs afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that. As a guy who covered Stephon, I would love to see. This is a perfect Super Bowl for me, because I would love to see Darnold win, and I would love to see Stephon Diggs have a walk-off touchdown. That would feel so good.
I mean, we would get, speaking of which, Cardi B. Mm-hmm. It took until about midway through.
I'm a great guy.
Yeah, it took until about midway through the season for me to be convinced that Cardi B was aware that her boyfriend was on the New England Patriots. Now we know. We're certain of that. I believe she's in Vegas. We haven't talked about the Bad Bunny of it all, but I believe she is widely expected to make a cameo on stage.
Oh.
I think I've heard that, unless I'm confusing.
Yeah, she is a betting favorite among various sundry sports books.
One supporting element to that?
Guest.
Yeah.
She is spending over $1 million of her own money to allow 40 people in the Diggs side of things and her own family side of things to rent out a luxury suite at the Super Bowl. So it would make sense if she's going to play a little bit of a role too.
Right. You would imagine that if she's performing as well, that maybe it makes that investment sing a little bit more. Let's shift now. Let's shift. It's prediction time. Okay. We're each going to. Now, of course, the lock competition for our show has been decided. Zuzzer walked it off Championship Sunday week, much to Mark's chagrin. However, we still can predict this game. We pick this game. We finish out the standings. Conor has one last opportunity to break his slump here on Super Bowl Sunday. So with that said, why don't we make our predictions? And Conor, why don't you get us going?
So in a sort of a preamble to this, I went back through not only this year, which has been tough on me, but previous years for Super Bowl predictions. And just a couple of highlights here. One year I got angry at Julian Edelman for not answering one of my questions at the podium. So I predicted the Patriots to lose and for Julian Edelman to fumble a punt catastrophically on NFL.com. And he caught the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, little double down.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Job.
One year I predicted the Patriots to win for Chad Ochocinco to win MVP. He did not play a down in that game.
Good bit, though.
Yeah.
It was a great bit. One year I predicted the 15-1 Panthers to lose every single game of the season, and then predicted them to win by 20 points in the Super Bowl, and they were obviously demolished by the Denver Broncos.
Wrong church, wrong pew. Wrong country.
All in mind.
Wrong hemisphere.
It's almost as if, what are you doing here?
Right.
Maybe we shouldn't be going over this, Conor, but keep going.
No, this is all, we're all God's children. We need to understand this. So with that all in mind, I'm doing this mostly because I'm bored. I'm doing this because I realize that I wield a special and strange power. And I'm just sick of, like, everyone being like, obviously the Seahawks are going to win. Like, of course they're going to win. But that. 17-16 Patriots. Robert Spillane. You get that out of here, Justin. 17-16 Patriots. Robert Spillane, MVP, because he's going to return a fumble on a toss, 91 yards for a touchdown. And it's just going to throw off the little seagulls, and they're going to fly away. That's
Seagulls?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with the way this just went.
No, this is
who gives a
outstanding.
shit, I mean, what's fun about picking the Seahawks in this game? Like, they are demonstrably better at every position. It's just like,
That's okay. Nice.
They're only
nice
4.5
nice
point
segue
favorites. I don't know,
to
man.
my choice.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't like to overthink this stuff, and I do. We literally had on the man who decides all, who strongly seemed to intimate that introducing chaos and darkness is, I guess, if we had time to break it down, we could. It's part of man's folly and a way to counterbalance the universe that we live in. And it seems that means the Patriots are going to win. I said it to Graf with The Athletic on Wednesday, which it's like this season where if everything is on a scale of 0 to 10, from worst case scenario to 10 perfectly play out scenario for the Patriots, everything almost has been a 10. Like, so why would this change now cosmically in the Super Bowl? It would make sense that something crazy would happen, like Conor is saying, and they get a big play and they're celebrating and it's like 2002 all over again, right? But then there's the thinking side of my brain, which is like, why wouldn't the better team win this game and potentially win it handily? And I want to point to one aspect of the game that we have not discussed, which is special teams.
Yes.
And the Seahawks have the best special teams in the league, from their punter to their kicker, to their coordinator, to their return man. And I'm going to give you some names. Devin Hester. I'll give you another one. Percy Harvin. Speaking of Minnesota royalty.
Let's go.
And I'll give you one more. Rashid Shaheed. He will become the latest kick returner to take one to the house. Do I want to get crazy and say it will be on the opening kickoff? Why not? Because that will make me look good. And if it doesn't happen, nobody will remember. So Shaheed gets the MVP for a kickoff return, and the Seahawks defense stifles Drake May. The offense does enough. And yes, that kickoff return, even if it doesn't happen on the first play, it's a vital play in this game because it gives them breathing room. They win 27-13. The Seahawks return to the top of the NFL mountain, and the Patriots can go back home with Zolak and slug some Powerade. Arif.
You did steal a little bit of my thunder because I was going to talk about special teams. I will say that. But,
What a great job by the host.
Yeah. No, but I like it, right? Because I'm gonna substantiate that one a little bit more. Marcus Jones is also like an outstanding returner. I think we're going to see all kinds of. And the Pats are kind of held back by Bryce Baringer and Andre Borregales in terms of like what the special teams unit and the specialists have the ability to do compared to like Michael Dixon and Jason Myers, right? So I do think that that'll play a significant role. I will go to my backup prediction because as a professional, you have backup predictions and or think of them really quickly when someone takes yours. Who's to say which one it is? But no, one thing that caught my eye when I was looking over the game is that, there have been, these are both quarterbacks that are reasonably good or very good at sack avoidance, or they were during the regular season. But over the last 3 games that both of them have played, in the last 5 games even, they've actually taken a lot of sacks, and some of this has to do with how good the blitz design and the rush design for their opponents have been. Patriots are really good at sim pressures. You talked about McDonald's sim pressures, the way that they create one-on-ones. We've talked about how effective those blitzes are. Drake May has taken like 5 sacks in each of the last 3 games, and both of them have ended up with like I think 3 sacks a game over the last 5 games. The over/under on sacks in this game is 5.5. I'm going to take the over, but not just that. I'm going to go even further. I'll say there's 9 sacks in this game. I think that this is just going to be a crazy, everybody's in the backfield doing all kinds of damage to all kinds of quarterbacks kind of game. And we're going to see a bunch of tackles behind the line of scrimmage of people attempting to throw the ball.
Darnold has done a good job avoiding mistakes in the playoffs and also avoiding sacks. He hasn't taken many at all. I do. That's another reason I feel confident about Seattle. I really think the pass rush gets home and puts May in situations where the ball can end up for grabs. Again, this is a guy He's a young quarterback. This is a huge stage. Not that he's not ready for this, but this is going to be a huge challenge. Do you have a final score, Arif? Did you give us one?
Oh, no, I didn't. I was going to go 2017 for the Seahawks.
2017.
Good.
Yeah.
The Seagulls. Okay, and now we throw it
MVP,
to Mark.
Arif?
Oh,
MVP
yeah, Jackson
pick.
Smith and Jigba.
JSN. And now Sessy.
I just feel with these Super Bowls, like you spend 2 weeks and we go over like 4 billion data points, as if they're going to be predictive and tell us what's going to happen. Then with at least half of these Super Bowls, something completely absurd and wild occurs. And it's like, throw out everything. 2 big turnovers change the complexion of this game in the first half, and Team A can't dig out of it. If there's a blowout, it's Seattle. But I don't think there's going to be a blowout. And I think while we talk about Rashid Shaheed, there's also Marcus Jones. There's also Josh McDaniels. There's also the fact that I think that I have the vision that Drake May is going to throw a touchdown pass in this game and catch one. And the New England Patriots are going to find a way to create some havoc for Sam Darnold. I am genuinely rooting for Sam Darnold. I mean, we all are at this point. There's nothing but good feelings about the guy. But I think it's been a little bit like there is, to me, just a world where he could get into some trouble. It won't be just him. It's not a Sam Darnold game. But they could be thrown off their axis a little by a very good Patriots defense who can stop the run. I'm going to go New England 22, Seattle 21.
So our predictions are 2 1-point wins for the Pats. Arif's got Seattle by a field goal, if I'm not mistaken, and I have them a little more comfortably, but because of special teams, I also think it's going to be a low-scoring game by the offenses, but Seattle gets a huge play from their unit that's been so awesome this season. All right, Arif Hasan.
You got an MVP?
Drake May. He's going to throw a touchdown. He's going to catch one.
Yeah, you got to give it to the QB if he's got 2 of those. And I love these Sessler predictions. I get what you're doing now, going all the way back to the Philly special, which is one of the top plays in Super Bowl history, top 10, top 15, maybe. Like
top 1.
It just throw some shit against the wall.
And we see it a lot in Super Bowls. I mean, Tom Brady, did he catch the pass? He certainly was a target.
He did not, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a target. But we've seen Julian Edelman throw. We've seen Troy Brown throw, like to go all the way back to. We've seen a lot of non-quarterbacks throw in Super Bowls, especially in Patriots games.
They tried throwing to May a couple weeks ago. I mean, I think it's in the world.
He does have a bad shoulder we haven't talked about that. I don't want to say bad shoulder, but a shoulder issue. I wonder if because of that, they might throw out a trick play that could have him landing on that particular important limb of his body. Just throwing that out there.
Well, he'll be wide open in the end zone and just...
Yeah, you don't got to worry about it.
Cool. All right.
Flutter
Justin,
over to
real
the
quick,
sideline.
Since we did it all year, we would love to hear what you think. You actually have the most important pick because you're about to break the tie for Super Bowl 60.
No, you guys are all a little too scared to predict a blowout. I mean, Dan, you got a 14-point win, so that's somewhat of a blowout. But
too scared.
I actually think this is going to end up being a pretty boring game. I think the NFC Championship was the real Super Bowl, if you will. I think the Seahawks are going to run away with this thing. Maybe a close first half, but by the end of the third quarter, we're going to be, all the people who write columns recapping the game will have their column pretty much wrapped up. Seahawks 31, Patriots 13.
Holy Jesus Christ.
Legend comes in hot.
You know what? Legend. I literally wrote about in my notes here 31-13. And then what always happens when we do the Super Bowl preview episode, we talk up both teams like they're the greatest fucking teams that have ever existed. And then I chickened out and I said, no, I'm going to dial it back just a little bit. But that was initially where my head was at. We haven't had I'm trying to think, what was the last Super Bowl blowout we had?
I think Broncos, Seahawks. Although, Chiefs, Bucks was not close.
That's true. Bucks beat the crap out of the
Last year wasn't particularly close. The Eagles ran away with it.
That was a blowout.
That's true. I forgot about that.
There we go. There's that short-term memory.
Yeah.
But Seahawks Broncos was a genuine blowout.
That was a crazy,
one of the all-time blowouts, all right. Arif, Hasan, I'm so happy that we're not just saying goodbye now with an open ended point for return. You are back on Sunday.
Yeah.
So make sure you come back Sunday. We're live streaming immediately after the game on Sunday. And Arif, of course, is the creator of Wide Left at wideleft.football, host of the Norse Code podcast. Like I said, check out his piece on the Vikings GM melodrama, and follow Arif for all things in your life. And Arif, thank you, buddy, and we'll see you. Any final words?
No, I think you oversold me perfectly, and I don't want to undercut that. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right,
He gets
thank
a
you,
free
buddy.
ticket to White Gravy too, so we give gifts. We give gifts.
All right, perfect.
I bet you didn't realize you were signing up for that, Arif.
I'm excited.
We actually left that out by design, but now it's too late. You have committed. You will be seeing White Gravy live.
Yeah, it was good to ask me on air. That was smart.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, there goes Arif. Very exciting times for the show. Now wrapping up our second season of Heed the Call, and in the NFL season, of course, with the big game coming. The show's title, of course, Heed the Call, was a mantra that Chris Wesseling lived by, that we all found extremely inspiring as he fought cancer and eventually lost his life 5 years ago. This very day, we lost Chris Wesseling. And Mark, it's one of those things, as you get older, you kind of marvel at the passage of time and how the years pile up. And with this, I think about, yes, it's been 5 years since that terrible day, which was 2 days before the Super Bowl. I'll never forget that, on a Friday. But also the challenges that Wes faced in those last two to 3 years before he passed away. I think about, on a day like today, not that he's gone and in the sad way, but I think about even before he got sick, or when he beat cancer the first time and he was able to get married to Lakeisha and have Link, and they shared that special time together, and all the amazing times we had building our show together and becoming close friends. And on this 5-year mark, that's what I think about, all the great times we had.
Yeah, I've gotten to that place too. I did not for a long time. I think for the listeners of the show, whose hearts were broken, and we still hear from them all the time, for each of us, in this show right now, but so many friends beyond us. It happened right in the middle of COVID. It was a very jarring experience to lose a wonderful friend like that. And yet I now have come to the place where you're at, where I can remember Wes for these 1,000 upon 1,000 good memories that I've had of him. And I can still hear his laugh, he just reminded me of when he moved to town. Wes always had this thing. And, when someone passes away, you saint them. And I get it. That's how life works. And especially for people that didn't know and spend time with Wes. But my favorite thing about Wes were some of his foibles and flaws when we first met him. I mean, he talked about openly that he wanted to find a woman that would change and evolve, and that he wanted to change and evolve. And well, the former happened, but so did the latter, because the Wes that we met when he arrived in LA, and the Wes that we said goodbye to were the same person, the same jolly, beautiful, intricate, intellectual heart, and a firebrand. But he was a changed person. And I'm really thankful for that period in between the first devastating battle with cancer and the second that took him. That period in between, he was able to come back and live life the way that he wanted to, and we got to feel that with him. And I'll never I don't think you would wish things could be different, but I kind of think that Wes left as this fire in the sky, and I'll just never forget him. And he changed football for us. He changed the way that we would go out and have a beer at the combine, and he'd be in an argument with 5 people in 3 minutes.
A beer?
Even a couple beers. I've said it before, but he got into a gigantic argument with 8 people about a roll of paper towels or the concept of paper. I was what are we doing here, Wes? But I loved every minute with him. And so we could all talk for hours. And And Conor, I know that you met him right in the middle of that glorious golden period of Wes in LA too.
Yeah. I think someone said it to me once that life is a story that only makes sense at the end looking backwards. And, at that time in my life, I think the thing that I had always wanted and I felt like I always needed were people like, it's hard to describe, but that feeling that you get when you're with like an older brother, an older cousin or something like that. It's like those guys that are just a little one step ahead of you in life and that are just vibrant or that are passionate and that are really interested in what they're doing. And I mean, I consider the two of you, and I consider Wes, just everybody in that time period to just have, done so many amazing things for me. And, I think about him every day. I keep his favorite Talking Heads song on every running playlist that I have. And I remember we would go to the Cozy together and I would know that he was coming and I'd put Shakedown Street on by the Grateful Dead, and then he'd sit down and he'd put it on too, knowing that that's what I wanted to hear. And that's just the kind of, just beautiful moments. And, I mentioned it on the New Year's show too, but just that even in passing, the gifts of wisdom that he had given me, I still read our last texts a lot and think about them all the time. And so I guess to sum up this mishmash, just gratitude that he was here, gratitude that he was in my life in one way, shape, or form.
What the Talking Head song was it? This Must Be the Place.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that I always Wes and I always connect. We didn't have the same musical taste, but I knew a Wes song, and I would send him even when he was sick. Send him songs. Like the last song I ever sent him, which I think about him whenever I hear it now, is in the middle of COVID, and Mark pointed it out. It was very cruel to, on top of everything else, when the illness was really taking him from us, that we couldn't even see him really because of the restrictions of the time. But I sent him the song Texas Sun by Leon Bridges. And it was like, this is such a West song. It's like, we got once we can get back to grilling, we got to listen to this. And it was just like, I don't know, but that's just to put a bow on it. This is a time we've had enough distance now where the sadness of what happened is kind of starting to be replaced by just this thing where we had this period with him. And I thought, I never experienced that before in my life of losing somebody that was around my age, that I expected us all and Greg to be doing a show forever together, and Wes to be in my life forever. And it turned out it was just this moment in time, and it was just this great moment in time though, that we just we remember him for that reason. And the last thing is Lakeisha, who can you imagine the situation that she was put in by fate there with Wes getting sick and Link entering the picture, and then the illness coming back and taking Wes, and what Lakeisha's been able to do. She continues to work in a full-time capacity for NFL. She took Link and they moved back to Missouri, and she's raising him beautifully and handling everything that comes with motherhood and doing it without Wes. And you can only imagine wherever Wes is that he couldn't be more proud of Lakeisha for handling all of this in the most graceful, beautiful way possible. So,
and you know what, Wes was not always if you were a girlfriend of Wes, I think there were some moments just being real about the person, the early version of Wes, you're going to go through some stuff, and she never wavered, and he treasured her and they treated each other so well. Mm-hmm. I never saw anything but that. And it was a standout relationship, and they changed each other forever.
Wes jumped out of a moving car to get away from one of his girlfriends.
Yes, he did.
Before Lakeisha.
Remember that story?
Two beautiful people that found each other, and just like us, Lakeisha expected to have the rest of her life with Wes. She only got a portion of it, but he made all of our lives so much better. So 5 years gone, Chris Wesseling, you'll be in our thoughts for the rest of our lives, and we love you, buddy. We will be back Sunday night, like we said, live right after Super Bowl 60 to recap this game. So make sure you're there with us. Be on time. Get in the chat. Let's have fun together. One more game in this crazy season. Let's do it. Let's, as Chris Wesseling always said, heed the call.